Hello all, Alison here. Welcome back to Words and Pictures for some more tag time. Excuse the painty fingers. I'm in the midst of a big project in the background and I'm diving on to do a little bit of tag playtime whilst some things are drying over there. But I didn't get round to washing my hands. I'm sorry about that. I've got some of the backgrounds, texture backgrounds that we were playing with the other day on the mat. If you didn't see that happen, then I will link that video down below. And before I add any sort of simple collaging over the top, I thought what I'd quite like to do is add a bit of detail stamping just over the top of some of this texture. Now, I could do that in an oxide ink because they are highly pigmented and opaque, and so they would show up, but since they're water reactive, I would have to clear emboss them or something to make sure they stayed put. So I've got a couple of thoughts on the go, either to use an archival ink or to use some paint. And I do quite like stamping in paint, and I know that that's going to show up. I could absolutely go with archival ink. In fact, because this bit's flat, I'm quite tempted to just do a little bit of archival ink stamping here. This is a Tim Holtz set, Etcetera it's called, and I sort of just want to put this brilliant little Market Street stamp somewhere across the top there, just adding a bit of text detail to that little corner. And that does, you know, that shows up, but there's no way that's beach cruiser colour because it just mixes with the colour that's underneath, and you don't see that colour clearly. So what I would like to do is have some specifically either green or blue stamping, particularly on these leaves in the middle here. So one of the ways, or my preferred way, you can sponge paint onto a stamp, absolutely. I have always found it easier to just create a very thin coat of paint. This is on the silicone mat here, any craft mat will do, and then I'm going to dip into that this little texty stamp here, so you can see that picks up that paint, and then I'm just going to lay that down over the texture here, and that's giving me brilliant texty detail. You can't necessarily see that it's script but I like it. And because I'm stamping in paint, I know that that's the colour I'm going to get. Opaque acrylic paint over other painty surfaces. And I just really like how that's creating some additional texture within all the other texture that's going on. If you use paint on your stamps, do make sure that you wash that off while it's still wet. You don't want paint drying in all those little cracks and crevices. I mean, you can. There are ways that I've read about. I've never had to try it myself, so I don't have any personal recommendations, but much better to get that paint off while it's still wet. Just wondering about maybe a little bit of Shabby shutters. So this is distress paint. This was PaperArtsy Summer Sky, beautiful fresh blue. This would be a sort of slightly, oh, I'm not sure it's even open. No, look at that. Brand new Shabby Shutters paint. Well, that can go straight on there. I don't even need to get any out. Let's clean off this brush. I just think there's something quite nice about that zingy green. Shall I do it with the same stamp? Yeah, I think I will. I'll paint up a slightly different section of it and just let that, oh, went into the blue there, did you see that? Yeah, see, that's what I wanted. I wanted that zingy green over these blue bits of leaf, and I think that's also going to be quite nice down there. Just enjoying playing with what I've got. Yeah, I'm enjoying all of that. Grand. So that was just about adding a little bit of extra, as though these backgrounds needed it. And again, I'm going to make sure I give that a good spritz of water. You can see the paint moves, shifts, and you get it out while it's still wet, you'll be fine. And your stamp will live to stamp another day. So, what am I after with these? Oh, look, well, look what we've got on the mat here. Might as well use some of that. Just let that mix on the mat. So yeah, two completely different kinds of paint, doesn't matter. Both perfectly capable of giving us a bit of spatter detail. Nice. Good. In fact, I might leave that there because I might want to spatter over some of the collaging when I've got it in place. I'm in the mood for maybe a transparent moth. Sort of feeling like that might be a nice thing to play with. And they do have this, some of them have this wonderful sort of rusty colour tone, which I think might complement things quite nicely here. Just thinking that might be quite a nice element. These are the Tim Holtz transparent moths. Quite like that. Going to keep those hanging around in case that is where I want to go. I also fished out some of the Photobooth snapshots, sort of thinking I'd quite like a photo on these. Quite like her. Ooh, he sort of feels like he might want to come out and play today. So you can see I just kind of hold the photos over the tags, looking back and forth between the two to see what it feels like I might be in the mood for. Yeah, I don't know, there's something quite cool about her. Oh, I love her. She's amazing. Good, let's see how they work as a pair. So his photo is a much more sepia toned one. Hers is a kind of grayer blue, but the tags aren't exactly the same colour. So grayer blue, a grayer black. Quite, I think the brighter contrast is working better. So I might want to look for something more like her, less like him, less sepia, more high contrast, not the kids. Oh, she could be good. Nah. Oh, this is my all-time favourite. The joy on her face is a lesson to us all. Let's have a look. What else we got? She's quite cool. Sort of like her. I'm looking for something that has a similar tone. That kind of black and white. That's quite good. I'll keep her out in case. Not sure it's quite right yet. She's still quite sepia. It's interesting. Oh, she's blue or white. That could be quite good. Cool white, warm white. Just finding that little balancing act that enables things to have a relationship to one another. Okay, let's have a look at what that is. We've got any more left in here? I might as well go through the lot now that I'm almost there. It's a gradual process. I've just been drawn to her. There she is. You're the partner. Yeah, I like that. It is worth persevering right to the end of the pack, you see. you just have to keep going until your creative urge says, yes, I see it, I understand it, that's what I want. That's the one that's going to make me happy today. Let me just zoom in a little bit so you can see what goes on from here. So I'm trimming off these photos so that we haven't got that extraneous stuff. They look as if they've come fresh out of the photo machine. And yeah, I think I definitely want to preserve the rusty sort of areas. I'm really enjoying those. So I think here as well, I want to try and preserve the rustiness. There's something quite nice, I think, still about these moths. Still encouraged by the moths. Maybe a redder moth here because the balance of that. Maybe a slightly less red moth here in terms of that balancing act. And then the other thing I wondered about was using some of the leaves from the other day. Just feel like that might be quite a nice element to include. Not quite sure how that works yet, but I'll have a little play. Oh, see, that's quite interesting. We've got some more of those somewhere. So again, if you didn't see the sparkly leaves, I will add that as a link down below. So these have got, some of these have got real shimmer on them, thanks to some shimmering watercolour paints. Very cheap ones, but they really got the job done to create some shimmering spring foliage. So despite this rustiness, it's not autumn, it is spring. Just doing a rough fussy cut to just release that leaf. Partly because I'm thinking it would be nice to have one pale and one slightly bluer, darker one on each tag. So some of these are with Tim Holtz stamps and some of them are my own twisted leaves. His are from his pressed foliage. All that information is on the other video. So do go and take a look if you want stamp details and also to see how these leaves got all shimmery. I'm quite enjoying those leaves. That's quite nice. And then use somewhere over the top. As per usual, I'm going to be doing some bending of these wings, so there will be some dimensionality to the moth in the long run. It won't cover up quite as much. I think that's quite good. I think that's quite good. I think that's quite good. It's really interesting combining those two kinds of leaves. Have you there. Have you maybe going off in that direction? You don't really want to go in that direction, do you? Maybe you'd be prepared to go in that direction. And you'd be happier going in that direction. That's starting to look quite fun. What about some film strip ribbon? Always love a bit of film strip ribbon. I've still got my original tin. This is the packaging it used to come in. It now comes in a flat Idea-ology pack. But I unpack my flat Idea-ology packs and put them back into... It's really interesting. I always cut 6 frames. I don't stop and think about it. And then I find I've cut 6 frames. This time I did stop and think about it because I realised I'd done it again. So yeah, I like my little tin of film. And one of the things I find quite nice about this is rather than glue it down, I quite like to use the Tiny Attacher so that I keep that sort of sense of movement. So a couple of tiny little staples to just hold the photo and the film strip in place is my favourite way of doing that. And you get the metal accent into the bargain, which I think is always a joy. Interestingly, both these women are sitting to the left, well, stage left. They're sitting to the right of the tag as you look at it, which in theatre terms is stage left. Their left, it's her left. So a couple of those, nice and easy. Let's pop this leaf. So this is the joy of the film strip ribbon, is I can put the leaf behind there and still see it. That's cool. You're going up here, we thought, with a moth sort of here-ish. Should we tuck you behind there as well? That's quite fun. Maybe I'm going to go back to having you going in that direction. In which case maybe you come down here, and the big one is big enough to sit sort of behind the moth and still show. That's good. I like that. So now we're getting this sense of variation, repetition, because these tags share elements and share things. So you've got that repetition, but you've also got a variation because they're in different positions. They're working with slightly different colours. Things are happening slightly differently on each tag. I do like that one under there, funnily enough. I like seeing that through the film strip. Good, going to pop a little bit of glue onto those leaves because I think they're where I want them. And of course I'm going over texture here, so it isn't a flat gluing surface, but that's fine for me because I also like that sense of things not being fully glued down, but they've got some dimension. So I'll probably keep my glue towards the centre of the leaf so that I can kind of curl up the edges, get that sense of movement. That's good. You next. You can see I'm not thinking very hard about this. I'm putting something on the tag, looking, and then going either yes or no. It's not a plan. It was sort of a vague idea. Oh, I'd quite like to put those leaves to use. And that's what's happening. A little bit further down. Too much coverage of the photo. Still room for you. Just about. Or we put you above. Oh, that is better. Yes, that is where you were originally, isn't it? So these I'm going to tug downwards a little bit because there's plenty of room. Let's put some glue under here. Hit that leaf. Glue on the back of here. Hit that leaf. Yeah, so if that butterfly is positioned down and that butterfly is positioned up, then we're getting that little bit of variation. And again, I'm going to go with the Tiny Attacher, because what it enables me to do is, hopefully, as long as it'll reach, just put a little staple right in the middle of the body there, which means that I can then play with my heat tool to lift up these wings. So I just need to get this acetate moth to melt just a little. You will burn your fingers doing this. It's a sacrifice worth making as far as I'm concerned. You'll feel the moment when the acetate kind of softens. And that's the moment to just get in there and shape the leaves a little bit. Hasn't quite reached. Oh, it's given me a good bend, so that's good. See them flop. That's when you know they're ready to mould. You need to dive right in and give them that bit of dimension. You can do it by folding, but you get a lot less subtlety, I find. I don't want to melt that one again. This, of course, will also affect the acetate ribbon, film strip ribbon. So don't get to the point where you're heating so much that things crinkle. You need to do that again. So any of this, you can just remelt. Look at those wings go floppy again. Back in and reposition. There they are. I just love that, just like it's a lighting on the tag. Very nice. I'm going to need to find some words. So I'll be, oh well, look, since this is still on the mat and still nice and liquid, do like hitting the film strip ribbon with that. Going to hit those leaves just to draw them into the mix. And it's a really good way to just allow these elements to speak to one another, is if they all share that bit of spatter. So yeah, getting some onto those moths as well. They can be butterflies in your imagination. Don't have to be moths. There we go. Already looking good. I'm off to find some words. Okay, I think I'm there. I've got the small talk stickers and I've picked out one phrase for each of the women, but I also want to chop up a couple of these. I love the white on black and the black on white. So I'm going with choose to snip, look on the bright side. And then here, where has it gone? Oh, leave a little sparkle wherever you go. Unlikely to use that in its entirety, but what I do like is wherever you go, embrace beautiful chaos. Now, is it embrace beautiful chaos wherever you go, which is good as a phrase, but in terms of the balance of the colours, I prefer wherever you go, embrace beautiful chaos. Choose to look on the bright side. Yep. Now these are stickers. I might leave a little sparkle in there and the good stuff stuck back into there for another day. These are stickers, obviously they are sticky, but sometimes they're not quite sticky enough. So what I'm going to do is add just a little bit of glue, especially since they're going again down over a textured background. They don't have a huge amount or a completely flat surface to stick to, so just giving them a little bit of assistance with my Cosmic Shimmer acrylic glue. Use any acrylic glue that you like. Doesn't have to be this one. Choose to look on the bright side. Wherever you go, embrace beautiful chaos. And I mean, I support both those statements. You can also see that I've mounted these just onto some of my cheap white card, just to give a framing effect, but also to embrace, as well as beautiful chaos, embrace that lovely contrast of the black and the white. The black and white photos, the black and white text, the vivid colours, but that lovely border. Need to decide whether it wants white twine in the top or plain twine. You're just going to have to wait around for the close-up to see. I hope you've enjoyed that little bit of tag playtime today, using some of the backgrounds we created the other day, using some of the leafy elements that we also created on another day, and just adding some simple collaging to create dimensional little bits of artwork that hopefully bring some joy. They do to me. I'm kind of wishing I still had some of that paint left on here to give a final spatter to these. I may do that as well before I come back. Oh, look, here it is. Do I want celery? Maybe I should go back to the shabby shutters just to keep... Oh, maybe I can't decide. Let's go blue. Because it's right here. Have I got my spatter brush? Can't see it. Let's go with this one. So firm tap on the surface of on the handle of the brush. I usually do a little go at the side to check that I'm getting what I want in terms of the dilution, and away it goes. Choose to look on the bright side. I do. We need to, right? There are too many dark sides at the moment. Thank you, as always, for your company on this creative journey. If you've enjoyed this, please give me a thumbs up. Follow along if you aren't already, so that you can join us for more tag time, few minutes of fun, watercolour Wednesdays, books, all the kinds of things that go on this channel. And yeah, hang around and you'll get to see these in close up. Thanks so much for your company, and happy crafting all.